that Bernie?
That was Bob.
Bob Beck, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Actually, the jacket would be better, or something, you know.
Okay. No, I didn't mean to take it off. I meant, okay, you in your introduction just tell me I did it in my office when I came to the funeral. Okay.
Yeah.
No, can you cut this and
Yes.
edit it? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
will.
Yeah.
So,
Because if you want to start over, that's
if a
fine.
curse word slips out, you
We wouldn't use anything that you do to make you look embarrassing. We'll use stuff that you want to say that make other people look embarrassing.
No, of course.
Where's my makeup specialist here?
No, these have been all really a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your story?
There we go.
Here we go. It's recorded.
Oh, I wanted to tell about the, it was maybe 12 or 15 years ago, one year on the 4th of July, we had a terrible tornado that went through part of Haybrook Township, and it just happened to wipe out a section of the 58-kilometer trail that I work on. As a matter of fact, people who are skiing it today can still see the ruins of that tornado from about kilometer mark 4 to about kilometer mark 10. The storm just absolutely blew every tree down and created an awful mess. And so a tremendous number of us folks had to get out there with our chainsaws, etc., and try to clear that trail. It was so bad that we couldn't really find where the trail was under those trees. It's hard to believe, but a lot of the trees would tip over, and the stumps, you know, the roots would come up and just heave up huge portions of the surface of the earth. As I say, you'll still see it if you ski along up there. And that was quite an undertaking to get that taken care of. We had crews of as many as 20 people out there, and we spent many weekends cleaning it up. That was one of my memories of the, well, now the early days of the Vasaloppet. Then it was probably 10 years old, but it's getting to be a long time ago. One of the grand old men of the Vasaloppet, of course, is Bernie Manthe. He shares a birthday with me, incidentally, but he's a few years older. And Bernie undoubtedly, I mean, without question, has spent more hours working on the trail than any other two people combined. He's just out there all the time, always by himself, mostly by himself. And just, he loves it, and he'll do it till he dies. Bernie has one other record. He's been stuck more times than any two other people put together. Bernie is absolutely fearless. He'll drive that yellow tractor into any low spot. He doesn't worry about it, no matter what. He'll go into anyone thinking he can get through, and he can't. He gets stuck, and he just gets stuck over and over again. And then, of course, he has to come and get some help getting pulled out. I remember one day I was over on the loops, and Bernie drove up and said he needed help to get he was driving Glenn Johnstone's John Deere tractor that day. And I had one of our little Rangers, which is a little small crawler machine with a 12-horse engine. And he wanted me to come over and pull him out. I said I didn't think I could, but I would. At his insistence, well, he was stuck in, happened to be the mud hole that resulted when Merle Johnson blew a big stump and used too much dynamite, so it had a big soft spot in the trail, and Merle was stuck right in it. Make a long story short, I managed to get him out, or help him get out, not with the Ranger, but with a come-along, after a great deal of effort. By that time it had gotten dark, and so we were going out of the woods along the trail, and Glenn's tractor didn't have any headlights on it, so Bernie had to drive behind me. The Ranger had a headlight, and I was driving along, and Bernie was anxious. He was kind of tailgating me on the way out. As soon as we got to a slightly wider part, just before you get to Linder's Pond, then Bernie, and it was wide and clear, and the moon was starting to shine, so he could see well enough, and he just passed me up, because the Ranger will only go about 6 miles an hour. The tractor, of course, went much faster, so he took off. And I'm following him then, and he got quite a ways ahead. I remember I was just starting to come across the dam that's by Linder's Pond there, and I looked ahead and I saw this light blinking, and I looked more closely and I realized it was a fire. And then I saw that somebody seemed to be dancing around this fire, and I thought, what in the world is going on? Well, maybe it was some aboriginals or something, but finally it became clear to me that Glenn's tractor had caught on fire, and Bernie was rushing around grabbing little handfuls of snow. There was not much snow on the ground yet because it was fall, and throwing it on the fire, trying to put it out. And of course I thought, my gosh, Bernie, it's a gas fire or an oil fire, you'll never get it out throwing snow. And so I put the Ranger up as fast as it go, about 8 miles an hour, just bouncing and terribly rough. And I came riding across the terrain like the cavalry to the rescue, and Bernie's frantically going further and further to get handfuls of snow and throwing on his fire, which is not doing a bit of good. When I get up there, I remember I took off my jacket and wrapped it around the area that was burning and smothered it and put the fire on. But it was so humorous at the time.
That's a good story.
That's all I got.
That's a good story. That's funny.
Do you have any recollections of the very early goings, the organizing?
No, I was not around. I was off serving my country in the Army. Well, I guess I first did the race, I think, in '77 or something like that. I mean, that was fairly early, but that's all a little bit before my time. You know, I'm not one of the old timers. You got that all from Bob Beck and Glenn Johnstone and Tommy Hoyer.
Yeah, got some
Bernie.
real stuff on equipment, on trail equipment. That early trail equipment stuff we were watching last night, just out of slusher buckets and trying to make scoops and drags. And
Well, it seemed we used to be so much younger, and it was easier to get people out there and work. We had big work parties. One of the things I remember, not necessarily about the Vasaloppet, but in past years, 15 years ago, on a day like today, or let's say it was a weekend, it was snowing and it was a nice weather, we'd just call each other up and say, gosh, let's go skiing, and we'd get a bunch together and take our knapsacks and some lunch, and we'd go out and just head down a trail and get as far as we wanted to go. We'd stop and build a bonfire, and those ladies and men would go, and they'd have all these nice outings, ski outings, and maybe the young people are doing it nowadays, I don't know, but I don't think as much as we did. We sure enjoyed it. Incidentally, I just came from a funeral. As I stood at the gravesite, and it's snowing now, and the wind was blowing, and I mean, it's a Minnesota type weather, and I made the comment, I said, that's the kind of weather I would have wanted if I was being buried, and that's the way I feel about our Minnesota winters.
great.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
That's
Vasaloppet, this is Valerie. Catch up. Oh no, not again. Oh, they've made so many mistakes. What are they saying? Uh-huh. Right, okay. But where on earth are they getting this? Okay, I will. Oh, you're about as special as they come, aren't they? Okay. Did Jerry pick up the prescriptions? Okay. Okay, just wanted to check. Thanks, John. Bye-bye.
Highways that went off the road there and on the field approaches there. And so there we came down the ditch all the way from Tommy Felger's, from up there north of Knife Lake, all the way to Melvin Anderson's. Letty lives over there on the river. And there just below his house, we cut across the river and up on the north side of the cemetery and into town. That was the first year into town in '78.
But you're so knowledgeable about the trails. Were you instrumental in designing the trails?
Oh yeah,
that came into town?
I knew the country, and then working on the trails every day, I got to learn them real good. And in my work as a game warden, I knew all the landowners. That was real important. That was the most important thing there was, because we had to have their permission to use their land
It still
to
is.
work on it, and then to go down to one day. And without them, we wouldn't have a race. It takes one landowner on a strategic spot to say no, and we would be stuck. We'd have to. Sometimes there's just no way to go unless you got to go through there. But we had good relations with the landowners. Like Glenn and I, anytime we had any changes that we contemplated making,
Her, who was a girl from Ogilvy, by the way, and she was supposed to greet the skiers, but she just stood around with her hands in her pockets and didn't know what to do, and nobody had briefed her on doing anything, you know. So that was kind of a disaster.
So I'm thinking, how long after that did Franz Kula start playing?
Well, see, Daisy Samuelson, I don't, you know, you remember her? She was the one that suggested the Krantz School idea, and she was there at that time too, and she was trying to do her best to welcome the skiers as they came in, but we didn't have the winner's wreath or anything like that at that time. And so she could see that there was need for a lot more ceremony. And so the next year we had all these plans made to do these things, and we'd appointed D. Solmonson, as the first Krantz School. But of course that was 77, and we got totally bombed out that year. We had no snow at all, and we had to cancel. That was another disaster. And here was a lot of elaborate corporations that we just couldn't